With some long-awaited good news from the US jobs market, aren't you?
Indeed. Hi, Rochelle. The US unemployment market seems finally to be bouncing back after a weak stretch that's been blamed on the harsh winter, freezing growth. US employers added 192,000 jobs in March. That's a little below expectations, but still reassuring. The number of US job seekers also increased by 500,000. But that's actually good news, as it means the long-term unemployed are feeling a bit more optimistic and starting to look for jobs again. The US markets, though, slumped a little on Friday despite that good news. Both the Dow and the S&P started out well but have since fallen. The Dow closed there down over 0.9% and the S&P down more than 1%. That's been led by a sell-off of recently fashionable tech stocks like Netflix and TripAdvisor that have led much of the recent market rise. Better news in Europe, though, where markets all closed in the green. The FTSE 100 in London clocked up its 9th solid day of gains, making this the longest positive streak since October. The CAC 40 here in Paris closed up nearly 0.8%, and markets in Spain and Italy also did well. That's after reports saying the European Central Bank is planning a possible €1 trillion of asset purchases, aiming to raise inflation from the current 0.2% to 0.8%. But not everyone is happy about the shape of Europe's recovery. Tens of thousands of protesters marched on the European Parliament in Brussels on Friday, some throwing rocks at police, who pushed them back with water cannon. The march was organised by unions, who say the EU is focusing on austerity at the expense of creating jobs.
The policies that have been carried out until now have not worked. We have an unemployment rate which is unacceptable. So we are asking, stop the austerity and start a big investment plan for sustainable growth and quality jobs.
The owners of French mobile phone firm SFR say they'll look at offers for the firm over the weekend after mobile phone and construction giant Bouygues upped its offer to €15 billion. SFR's parent company Vivendi had rejected an earlier Bouygues offer, preferring to enter into exclusive negotiations with rival bidder Numericable. Delano de Souza has the details.
The timer on 3 weeks of exclusive talks between Vivendi and Numericable has now run out. After meeting with Numericable on Friday, SFR's parent company Vivendi said it needed more time. Numericable had offered nearly €12 billion for SFR and would provide Vivendi with a 32% stake in the new company. The extra time will come as good news to Bouygues Telecom. In spite of not being included in the talks 3 weeks ago, the company continued to woo SFR. Over the past 3 weeks, it's revised its offer 3 times. On Friday morning, in a last-ditch attempt to force itself back in the game, Bouygues increased the cash portion of its bid by €1.85 billion, taking the total on offer to €15 billion. The combined Bouygues SFR entity would take the number of telephone operators in France from 4 to 3. The French Minister of Economy, Arnaud Montebourg, has vocally backed Bouygues' offer. Numericable's Patrick Drahi promised to create a national champion if he gets control of SFR. Spinning off SFR is part of Vivendi's plan to focus more on its media assets.
Let's have a look at some of today's other big business stories. Car sales in Britain have soared to their highest level in a decade, surging by 17.7% on last month. Analysts say the figures show rising consumer confidence and the growth of cheap credit deals that encourage customers to upgrade to a new car. A big money bidding war in France wrapped up today over the rights to show Ligue 1 football matches all the way up to 2020. French broadcaster Canal+ was the victor, beating Qatari-owned rival beIN Sports. Canal+ paid a record €748.5 million for the rights to screen top-flight matches for 4 years from 2016. That's still way behind what the English, Italian and Spanish leagues can charge for TV rights. Premier League rights go for €1.75 billion. And bad news for cosmetics firm Sephora. The French Constitutional Court has thrown out a case it brought over workers' overtime, deciding current regulations are constitutional. The company had wanted the law changed to allow it to keep its flagship store on the Champs-Élysées open later. And fast food lovers in Crimea may soon be missing their Happy Meals. McDonald's announced on Friday it's pulling out of the peninsula following its annexation by Russia last month. Staff are being offered a transfer to Ukraine. The burger giant said it did hope to reopen them in the future, so hopefully Crimeans won't have to wait too long to get their Big Macs back. That's it for business. Back to you, Rochelle.
OK, Eleanor, thanks very much for joining us. Now let's go on to Media Watch now. Hala's here. Hi, Hala. Good to have you with us.
Hello there.